right, hey, Phil's take 2 of 3 from the Nationals. Just as I released a video saying everybody needs to relax, the Phillies are arguably the hottest team in baseball. I kid. Yeah, it was pretty harem-scarum there against a bad Nationals team. But hey, comeback win, huge, love that. Guy who ends up getting the game-winning hit, Justin Crawford, love that. And that's where this video really starts out, because we are now 6 games into the season. And there is one thing that I have noticed already that Rob Thomson needed to fix 6 games ago. And it's pretty simple. The Phillies, for the first time in the Rob Thomson tenure, have 2 guys that are going to hit back-to-back in their lineup that have the potential to steal 40 bases. Justin Crawford, Trey Turner. They have had both those guys on base multiple times. Both of them on base together. That's what I mean when I say multiple times. They've had both of them on first and second base. At no point have they done a double steal. Now, why is that? Why wouldn't they do a double steal? They have 2 of the fastest players in baseball. That makes sense, right? First and second, that's cool. Second, third, even better. Why wouldn't they do that? Because Kyle Schwarber is hitting second. Because Kyle Schwarber is hitting behind Trey Turner, and they don't want to open up first base, that it would allow the opposing team to pitch around Kyle Schwarber and allow him to just go to first base. Nothing against Bryce Harper, who is hitting third in the lineup, but it's more of like, we're just going to force you to pitch to our 50-plus home run hitter, smart move, instead of opening up the base. Now, I think ideally on any team, in that situation, if you have your 9-hole hitter and your leadoff hitter get on base, and they both have 40 stolen base potential, and your 2-hole hitter gets up, you're sending them quite a bit on a double steal. The reason being is because your 2-hole hitter isn't a 50 home run guy. And that is my issue. I thought it was dumb from day one having Kyle Schwarber hit leadoff. And you know what? I don't do it very often, but let me take my victory lap because I was right. It was dumb. Kyle Schwarber became like the 6th player in Major League Baseball history to have 45 home runs and have less than 100 RBIs. And it was because he was hitting leadoff. It was dumb as hell. And they moved him down in the lineup, down being, to second. And all of a sudden he hits 50 plus and driving in 100. And it's like, oh, I wonder why, Trey Turner goes back to leadoff spot where he was comfortable, because that was the whole thing, was like, Kyle Schwarber's comfortable in the leadoff spot. Kyle Schwarber's hitting like 210 in the leadoff spot. Let's get him a little uncomfortable. Trey Turner was comfortable in the leadoff spot. Nobody cared. Rob Thomson gave him all of like 14 games post-World Baseball Classic to get comfortable again in the leadoff spot, and it didn't matter. No, he got bumped down to 2. So last year they flip it. They finally moved Kyle Schwarber down in the order, and you saw production. Do it again. Like, please do it again. Have Bryce hit second. Have Alec Boehm hit second. Even better. Have Alec Boehm hit second. What is the one complaint that baseball fans have, or I should say Phillies fans have, because like Athletics fans aren't calling up sports radio going, I'll tell you what I have a problem with Alec Boehm. But if Phillies fans complain about one thing when it comes to Boehm, and it's his propensity to ground into double plays. Do you know how you stop that from happening? You have 2 guys on the base pass who are at first and second, who then do a double steal. And now you've got third and second, or second and third if you want to be technical. First base is open. So that when Alec Boehm hits a grounder to the shortstop, the double play is not in effect. Have him hit second. Have Kyle Schwarber hit third if you want. Have Bryce Harper hit fourth. But to have both of these guys on the base pass at the same time and to not unleash them is absurd. I've had to complain about this for a while with Rob Thomson, where I feel like he doesn't send guys as much as he probably should. And Trey Turner being like one of those examples where Trey Turner really should be stealing like 35 minimum a season with his speed, and he doesn't. I think it's an organizational practice. I think it's a Rob Thompson call. But to have both of these guys on the base paths at the same time and not to take advantage of it early, I understand why you're not doing it. You're not doing it because you don't want to take the bat out of your 50 home run guy. That's fine. That is smart baseball. What's not smart baseball is to have a 50 home run guy hitting second. That is idiocracy right there. The only thing dumber than that is having him hit first. And the example I always bring up all the time is, could you imagine if 08, if Ryan Howard was hitting second in the lineup? No, that would not happen. I'll remind you of the 08 lineup. You had Jimmy Rollins hitting first, speedster. Shane Victorino hitting second, speedster. Chase Utley, kind of a versatile, can hit home runs, can hit doubles, kind of like a Bryce Harper type. You know, not surprised when he hits 30 to 35, but he can kind of do it all. Very smart baseball player. He hit third, and then your big bopper, your home run guy, your MVP candidate, your 58 home runs, 145 RBI guy, he hit fourth. You know why he had 145, 148 RBIs? Because he was hitting fourth. Now, I'm not asking Justin Crawford to hit second. I like where he's hitting in the lineup. He's a rookie. He's going to go through the dog days. It's going to be difficult at times. He's going to struggle. But I'm telling you, if they unleash this kid, if they let him do his thing, the same thing he did in AAA, which, by the way, he was on pace to have 50 stolen bases in AAA. He got injured the last 2 weeks of the season, but all 3 seasons in the minor leagues, he stole 40. Easily stole 40. If they let him do his thing and get on base and just wreak havoc on the base paths, which is what he did last year in AAA, where he outplayed everybody, he will steal 40 bases in the show in his rookie season. He will finish in the Rookie of the Year conversation. I don't think he'll win it because he won't have – I think he'll probably max out at like 2 home runs this season. And you know how baseball is. You know, you get so enamored with 2 home runs. And there'll be the argument of like, can we really give it to a guy that only hit like 3 home runs? And people will say, no, I guess you can't. And they'll ignore the fact that he's hitting close to 300. They'll ignore the fact that his on-base percentage is like 360, 370, 380, whatever it is. They'll ignore the fact that he's 40 stolen bases. They'll ignore all that. And look, he'll finish top 3. I don't think he'll win it. My point is, though, you need to unleash him. You need to let him do what he's good at, and that is run the base pass. But when you get both those guys on there, you need to let them run amok. You need to let them attack. They can't do that if Kyle Schwarber's hitting second. You need to change it up, like yesterday. Let me know what you think out there. I've been long proponent of Kyle Schwarber hitting at minimum third. Like third, I think I'd be like, all right, fine. I'll back off. He really should be hitting cleanup. Well, let me know what you guys think if I'm being, I guess. This is one of those arguments, though, where like I'm going to die on the hill. Like this is one of those where there's really not a lot of talking sense to me. If there is sense to be had, which I don't think there is. I'm just so convinced and I'm so like entrenched in this argument where it's really going to be. Kyle Schwarber and Rob Thompson could come up to me and say, no, this is the way. And I'm like, I don't think it is. That's how just deep in like my thought, deep in this idea I am that he should be hitting cleanup because I just don't understand it. As far as comments go, though, I'm only going to talk to channel members. So become a channel member, support the channel. It'd be cool of you. If not, just subscribing is fine, I guess. Thumbs up, thumbs down. You guys know where those are. And as always, go Phillies. Appendicitis. Now it's appendicitis. This team, they're cursed. Like, at this point, you can't convince me otherwise. Joel Embiid now has appendicitis. Not his fault, obviously. You know, nobody signs up for appendicitis. Nobody goes, oh, you know, I think I'll call out of work with appendicitis today. But now I am fully convinced this organization is cursed. I was planning on doing a video about how I thought it was bullshit that the Sixers were like the boogeyman in terms of the playoffs, which I've seen. And it seems like this is a popular thing. Like you'll get the Tim Leglers of the world, nothing against Tim and the Brian Windhorst, and they'd be like, I'll tell you what, the one team that nobody wants to play is the Sixers. And you know what? On paper, you're probably right. Because on paper, with the Sixers coming out of Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, Paul George, like that is a scary 4 that I don't think teams want to face. The issue is, that's on paper. The reality is the Sixers cannot stay healthy. And if it's not something, it's something else, you know? So, like, Paul George gets suspended 25 games. We got to deal with that. And then Tyrese Maxey has his 3-week injury. And now you've got the Joel Embiid thing. And if Joel Embiid didn't have appendicitis, it would be something else. But before that, it was like a quad. And before that, it was the knee. Like, it's always something with these guys. You know, Kelly Oubre, his finger, beginning of the season. They can't stay healthy. So my whole thing was going to be like, yeah, okay, it's adorable to say like, oh, they're the dangerous team, but they're not, because it would be, something would pop up. And something popped up. Joel Embiid, appendicitis, which is going to take about 3 weeks to heal up. And the season, I mean, their last home game is what, Sunday? Going into the playoffs, like as a, what, number 6, 7, 8 seed? Yeah. Now, I don't think anybody thought this was going to be, like, the year. Although, when it comes to the Sixers, even when you think it's going to be the year, something pops up. And that's why I go back to, this fucking organization's got to be cursed. I know that anti-process people will go, like, it's because of the process. No. Sam Presti did the same thing with Oklahoma City. The same exact thing. Sam Hinkie walked so Sam Presti could run with the egregious tank job he did on his way to a championship. So I don't want to hear that. But I don't know what it is. But you have the most talented player to ever suit up for this organization. I mean, what Joel Embiid can do in a 7'2" frame, guard handles, dream shakes, Dirk moves, dropping 70. Like, he is a freak. He is a once-in-a-lifetime player, truly. A player that we will not appreciate until he is gone. A player that even on, like, bad knees can still drop 35 in 30 minutes. We've seen it happen. And somehow there are new ways to not be 100%. This is the latest. Like, who in their right mind thought he's going to have appendicitis in April? I mean, I don't think anyone thinks you're going to have appendicitis. But this is the worst time to have it in terms of an NBA season, is now. But it tracks because this is an organization that has seen Joel Embiid break his face twice. One of them was on a 6'1" guard's shoulder. Like, freak nature stuff. He gets Bell's palsy during the playoffs. Who the fuck gets Bell's palsy during the playoffs? Joel Embiid does. Something about April and May. Joel Embiid gets Bell's palsy. Still dropped 50 with a pinch of palsy and one knee, by the way. That's how much of a freak this guy is. But let's go to the knees. Meniscus tear. Meniscus tear in the other knee. Then there's like a thumb issue. I think there was one year like he tore a ligament in his thumb. It is always something. And it is not his fault. Like, these are injuries that, again, like the face breaking. Like, who could have saw that coming? Never should have been in against Toronto that late in the game. Doc Rivers cost them, I think, the second round because of the fact that he had Joel Embiid in a clearly, hey, we're good here. Like, we're gonna win this series. We're gonna move on. Ironically enough, against Nick Nurse, ends up breaking his face on Pascal Siakam's elbow, and then we all know what happens. But like, it's more about. It's not so much about, okay, They squandered an opportunity, unluckily, but they squandered an opportunity to win a championship. This could be the year. It's no longer the year. It's not that. It's just this is yet another example of the Sixers being cursed. When you look at the last 10 to 15 years, you had fool's gold a bunch of years ago when they got to the Eastern Conference Finals against Boston. Like, I think you look on paper and you're like, that team would have gotten waxed in the NBA championship, in the NBA Finals, if they got there. But, they lucked out against a number 1 seed Bulls team that had Derrick Rose and Joakim Noah injured. Like, they lucked out. They weren't going to win much. Blow it up, fine. You get Andrew Bynum. He gets a knee injury bowling. Like, that's the other thing about this organization is the way that they get injured. Bynum gets injured bowling. Joel Embiid gets injured, breaks his foot dunking after it was already broken. Breaks his foot twice. Then you've got the Ben Simmons foot break. Should have been out for
2 months, his camp told the Sixers, no, we want to win Rookie of the Year. We're going to hold him out the entire year. Fine, whatever. Markelle Fultz with the yips goes home, works with a shooting coach, then comes back, and we all learn what thoracic outlet syndrome is, and nobody believes that he had thoracic outlet syndrome. Somehow they luck out with that, though. Somehow Markelle Fultz turns into Tyrese Maxey because they end up trading Markelle Fultz for a possible first-round pick that ends up actually vesting, which nobody thought it was going to. Ends up vesting thanks to Mike Muscala. The pick ends up being 21st overall. It ends up being Tyrese Maxey. All is well in the world. Fine, good, we're golden. But it's like, it seems like it's something. And this isn't like a hard-hitting video. This is just a guy venting into the void. But like, I saw the news today. I was like, yeah, that tracks. If you're a Sixers fan, that makes the most sense. Joel Embiid, this is around the time. March, April, this is the time where like the freak injury thing would happen. Again, Bell's palsy. Who gets Bell's palsy during the playoffs? If you want, you can subscribe to the channel. That'd be cool. If you want to vent, there's a comment section. As far as comments go, I'm probably only going to respond to channel members. So become a channel member. Support the channel. Help your boy out. Costs like $1.99. I'm going through it. Luckily, I didn't buy Sixers playoff tickets. I actually told my rep, like, I'm not buying the playoff tickets. I'll buy next season, though, but I won't buy the playoff tickets. This is a good reason why. I'm going to go now. Go Sixers. UFC 327 goes down this Saturday, and this is a prime example of why the Paramount Plus deal is phenomenal for UFC fans, because this card wouldn't be worth anywhere close to $80. They lost their co-main event in Joshua Van versus Tatsuro Tairo. You end up getting a thrown together co-main event, which, like, fine, whatever, I don't really care, but like, this is a good example of, yeah, thank God that I don't have to pay $80 or I go to Buffalo Wild. I used to go to Buffalo Wild Wings personally, but let's preview the main card for you, which got changed up because of that Joshua Van injury, and now we are kicking off with Cub Swanson versus Nate Landwehr. Nate the Train Landwehr, never in a boring fight. Never, ever, ever in a boring fight. Whether he wins or loses, he's just never in a boring fight. I love Nate Landwehr. I've been waiting for this guy to come over since KSW, where he was a world champion over there. He comes over, but his style is chaotic. His style is like, he just throws caution to the wind, and he goes out there, and he doesn't care, but he knows he's going to wear it. And this is like actually a guy that would be good for like the BMF belt, because he's never going to contend for the actual championship belt, but he is always a guy that puts on exciting fights, and you've got a legend in Cub Swanson, the last remaining WEC member on the UFC roster, who is, I think, for all intents and purposes, I don't know if he's announced it, but everyone's assuming this is his last fight, his career send-off. The UFC did him no favors with the matchup, but I think that this fight, unfortunately for Cub, I think it benefits Nate, because I don't think Cub has the punching power to put Nate away like a lot of other fighters have. A lot of the fighters that have put Nate out or TKO'd him have done so because they're just like power punching guys, and they've been able to catch him coming in. And, he doesn't have the best defense. He doesn't really care about that. He's just trying to like put it on you. I think at this stage in Cub's career, I don't think he's that guy. And I think that Nate ends up kind of beating the brakes off him a little bit. I think Cub is going to have to come in with a very disciplined, smart fight, and I think he will do that, but eventually he's going to end up getting clipped by Nate Landwehr, and I don't want to see him get put out, but I think he's going to end up getting beaten pretty badly. And then we get, the video package, which is like customary now. Everybody gets a video package. So, yeah, I got Nate Landwehr in that one. Nate the Train. I think it's probably a good bet that it will be possible fight of the night, just because of the fact that, like, as I said, Nate Landwehr, never in a bad fight. Never in one. Next up is the fight of two former, like, top prospects, if you want to call them. Like, oh my God, this is the future of the UFC. Johnny Walker taking on Dominic Reyes. Thrilled for Dom Reyes, because this is a guy that I think beat John Jones. Said he was going to go out there and beat John Jones. Said he was better than John Jones. I think he went out and did it. Like, I think John Jones's name ended up winning John Jones that fight. I think when you look back on it, like Dominic Reyes 3 rounds to 2 in that fight. But after that, he was never quite the same. Ended up getting brutally knocked out a few times, but then he's starting to put in things together. And it's very similar to Johnny Walker. The big difference is that Johnny Walker was never in a championship fight, but he was looked at for a while as like, oh, this is one to watch. And he started to put it together. There was that weird story that he was kind of poisoning himself with THC, and he was never quite right for fight camp. I don't know if I buy into that necessarily, but when I look at this particular matchup, I do think it benefits Dominic Reyes a little bit. I don't know if Johnny Walker's still training at SPG Ireland with John Kavanagh. I think he probably is. That seemed to do him a little bit of good when he switched camps. Or at least after a few fights, he ended up, coming out of that losing streak. But Johnny Walker is more of a power puncher, and Dominic Reyes is a guy that goes out there and his attacks are calculated. And he has really, really good striking. Not that Johnny Walker doesn't. I mean, this is going to be a really good matchup. It's one that I'm not confident in. I could see it going either way. I lean towards Dominic Reyes because of the level of talent that he's faced, and the wars he's been in. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if Johnny Walker went out there and knocked him out, because both these guys have been prone to that. Both these guys have been prone to just getting clipped and dusted quickly, by the way. So I have Dominic Reyes in this one, but it's a good opportunity for the UFC to build these guys back up. One of these guys is coming out of this fight probably with a TKO win or a KO win, you would think, because, as I said, of the history with these two. So one of these guys will be coming out flying high a little bit, and maybe you can build them back up into challenger and a contender. Next up, we have Curtis Blades versus Josh Hokett. Cringy Josh Hokett. I know that Henry Cejudo basically just trademarked King of Cringe. No, it's Josh Hokett. Like, this dude is, and Curtis Blades said it, but like the whole gimmick of like, I'm like Hulk Hogan, I'm a wrestler now. It's so unbelievably cheesy that I think a lot of fans, myself included, are looking forward to this guy just getting absolutely wrecked. The problem is Josh Hokett fights in a very, 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 very shallow division. He fights in the most shallow division in the UFC, which is heavyweight. I mean, you've got MMA, can't talk. Hit thumbs down for that. You've got MMA analysts talking about getting rid of the heavyweight division because of how bad it is right now, which is prime for a guy like Josh Hokett to come in there, because you're probably 3-4 fights away from legitimately challenging for a belt in this shallow division. With this fight, though, it's different. Like, with this fight, you've got a situation where he's kind of facing the ultimate gatekeeper in Curtis Blades, who's really only lost to the top of the top guys. And I don't think the matchup is great for Josh Hokett. Like, I really don't. I know he's been able to go out there and put it on guys, knock them out, and kind of get the heavyweight name back a little bit because when you think about heavyweights, you think about knockouts and quick knockouts and brutal knockouts. You don't think about what we've grown to, unfortunately, get used to, which is two fat dudes in the cage looking up at the clock with their hands on their hips, because 4 minutes in, they're both gassed because they were swinging from their hips the entire fight. That's what we've unfortunately gotten used to. Hokett's been one of the few guys that's been able to go out there and just absolutely wreck dudes. Unfortunately, when he does that, he gets on a mic. That's where like it all just comes crumbling down for Josh. I think he's been able to realize, like, all right, I need mic skills to have a future in this sport and make money. That's fine. You need to be good on the mic. He's horrible. Curtis Blades, meanwhile, is the exact opposite of that. He doesn't have good mic skills. He isn't a knockout artist. What he is, though, is a guy that will go out there and wrestle you. And I don't see Josh Hokett having the wrestling defense. I think one of the biggest issues in MMA, and sports in general, but MMA especially, is guys are way too confident. Like in this example, Josh Hokett, I think, will be way too confident in his striking that he'll go, I don't need to really worry about the takedown because I'm going to knock him out. I'm going to knock him out quick. I'm going to find his chin. He's going to go to sleep. So, yeah, he can try to wrestle me all he wants, but he's not going to be able to do that when he's, backs on the canvas and he's staring up at the lights. I think that's a mistake. I think you're going to see a situation where Curtis might have to wear a shot or two. He's going to be able to take Josh Hokett down, smother him, keep him there, and it's not going to be an exciting fight. It's probably going to be a boring fight, especially if you're looking for fireworks coming out from the heavyweight division. I will say, though, you're probably coming out of 2 fights in Nate Landwehr, Cub Swanson, Dominic Reyes, and Johnny Walker, which were bangers of fights, at least on paper they should be. I think this is going to be a little bit of a letdown, but I think Curtis Blades is going to humble Josh Hogan. I think his wrestling is just so much better than a lot of people. I mean, when you think about the wrestlers in the heavyweight division, it's basically Sergey Spivak and Curtis Blades. And Blades is like the premier guy. Blades is trying to get back into that title contention. I don't think the UFC did Josh Hogan any favors with this matchup. Now, look, if Josh Hogan wins, he's probably, right there in the conversation because, as I said, shallow division. But I see this one going where Curtis Blades just ends up holding him down and smothering him for 15 minutes. All right, co-main event time. You've got Azamat Murzakanov versus Paulo Costa. Costa moving up to 205 in this one from 185. And just like Josh Hogan, I don't think the UFC did him any favors with this matchup. Murzakanov has gone out there the last 2 fights and wrecked opponents, first-round knockouts. And much like the couple with the Johnny Walker and Dominic Reyes, like Paulo Costa's fought for a belt. Like he was supposed to be like the future of the sport a little bit, future title contender. I mean, he did contend for a belt, but he lost. Now he's moving up in weight class and fighting a guy that's been consistently knocking guys out at 205. I don't know how that plays. I think Paulo Costa's probably cooked, and I think this is a good opportunity for the UFC because they want to showcase Murzakanov with a name. People know who Paulo Costa is. I don't know how many casuals know who Murzakanov is. I think Murzakanov is going to absolutely run through Paulo Costa. I think he is going to destroy him. I don't see it being great. And then finally, the main event of the night, you have the championship on the line because it was vacated by Poatan. You've got Yuri Prochazka going up against Carlos Ulberg in this one. And the UFC is running into this issue where this is, I feel like, the 3rd pay-per-view in a row where I go, unfortunately for these 2 guys, we all know who the real best in the division is. And in this situation, we all know it's Alex Pereira. But he gave up the belt. And he gives it to Yuri Prochazka and Carlos Ulberg a chance. Yuri Prochazka also never in a boring fight. And I think this one goes Yuri's way. And one of the big reasons why is Carlos Ulberg is a very technical, smart fighter. He's done a great job in his UFC career since coming over. He fights at a really, really good camp. Training and getting ready for Yuri Prochazka is just different because the guy just doesn't seem to really get hurt. And the biggest example I can give is the Alexander Rakic fight. You're watching that first round. Yuri's leg was toast. Like, it was completely cooked. Rakic was hammering that front leg, and Yuri could barely stand. And Yuri just didn't care. He's throwing bombs, and eventually he caught him. Eventually he caught Rakic, he put it on him, and he ended the fight. And under no circumstance did you watch the first round and a half and go, oh, Yuri's going to win this fight. He was doing typical Yuri shit. He was acting like he wasn't hurt. He was switching stances. He was doing his ninja stuff or samurai stuff, whatever everyone's call it. But then he found his shot. And that seems to be the case with Yuri. He throws defense completely to the side. Like Nate Landwehr. He's a big Nate Landwehr. Just defense, I don't know what that is. And he goes out there and he's able to find the chin of his opponent eventually. And I think Carlos Ulberg, while he's a heavy hitter, I think it's just difficult to handle a guy that is going to be in your face the entire fight, who also, by the way, has been there before. He's been in championship situations before, but he's in your face the entire time. He's putting that pressure on you, and he just doesn't seem like your shots are affecting him. And he's also got a weird style and weird stances. So I see this one going Yuri's way. I think that this is going to be Yuri end up winning it, and I don't know if he finishes him necessarily, but my gut tells me he does. But I wouldn't be surprised if Carlos Ulberg puts it on Yuri for a little bit, and then all of a sudden it's a lot like that Alexander Rakic fight. A lot like, if you want to compare it to the Khalil Roundtree fight. As I said, this happens a lot with Yuri, where he seems like he's injured. He seems like it's not going his way, but he just keeps battling through and he finds a shot. That's the main card. I'm going Nate Landwehr. I am going with Dominic Reyes. I am going with Curtis Blades. I am going with Azamat Murzakanov. Alexander, Jesus. And I'm going with Yuri Prochazka. Let's look at some of the undercard fights. The one fight that I love, and this is a situation I think where if you look at the undercard, it's pretty strong. You've got Aaron Pico going against Patricio Pitbull in a Bellator rematch. Patricio Pitbull is a former Bellator champion. Aaron Pico is made out to be like the future of the sport. He comes over to the UFC, got humbled pretty quickly by Leon Edwards. Or not Leon Edwards, I'm sorry. Oh, God. I am drawing a blank. Hit thumbs down for that. He's a casual. It's another English fighter that I'm drawing a complete blank on. And I could look it up too. I could literally click a button and look it up, and I'm not going to do that. And it's going to come to me. But it's not Leon Edwards. But he's a lot like Leon Edwards, and he doesn't really fight often. Anyway, yeah, he got completely humbled by that dude. I'm going to look it up. Like, this is ridiculous. You know, hit thumbs down, folks. Hit thumbs down, because I have to look it up. And the worst part is I can picture him. I don't know if you've ever had that. We've all had it, where you can picture the guy, and you can't think of his name. Lerone Murphy. Jesus Christ. Smash that thumbs down button. But he got humbled quick against Lerone Murphy. And I think that in this one, Aaron Pico goes out there, gets his win, wins and moves on, and the UFC tries to build him up. The fight that I'm looking probably forward to the most is Kevin Holland versus Randy Brown. I love Kevin Holland. You've heard me talk about Kevin Holland glowingly. Anytime I rip Bo Nickel, I make sure to mention Kevin Holland because Kevin Holland is very active. But Randy Brown's really talented. I think that Kevin Holland, though, his punching power is just there. Like, his striking is there. I do wonder if he's going to be able to handle the grappling of Randy, and my gut tells me he will because he's been pretty much working on that nonstop for 3 years. But I like Kevin Holland in this one. And it's unfortunate because I like both guys, and I think Randy is, as I said, really, really talented, but I think eventually Kevin Holland finds the chin. Mateusz Gamrot going up against Esteban Ribovics. That's a really, really good fight at 155. Gamrot has been kind of one of those, like, he's one fight away from a title picture. Ribovics is coming on the scene a little bit. That's going to be a fun fight. And I think if one of those two guys ends up getting a commanding victory, you could end up seeing them. They'll be at least in the conversation. I'm not saying they get the next title shot, but they'll be in the conversation of getting a next title shot. Other than that, who do we got? Anybody else? Kelvin Gastelum. It's been a long day. I am cooked, running on no sleep. Kelvin Gastelum going up against Vicente Luque, deep in the card. Like, very deep in the card. You got a guy that fought for an interim belt against Vicente Luque, who was looked at as a future guy to fight for a belt. I like Luque in that one, but damn, like, that is fall from grace for those two guys. And that's about it. All right, let me know what you guys think in the comment section. As far as comments go, I'm probably only going to respond to channel members. So become a channel member, support the channel. That'd be cool of you. Hit thumbs up if you like this. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. I'm going to go now. I don't know how to end these. If you've been following this channel, you know that I've never really understood the trade AJ Brown conversation. He hasn't demanded a trade. There isn't any word that his agent has secretly asked the Eagles to start shopping him. I never understood it. It's never made a lick of sense in terms of football. It's never made a lick of sense in terms of the cap. And even though I've seen people like, friend of the program, Zach Berman, say, well, cash-wise, it would be a big savings for the Eagles. At no point has cash ever gotten in the way of Jeffrey Lurie. It would truly be a first for Jeffrey Lurie to say, I actually need to save some money on this. Because what makes Jeffrey Lurie one of the best owners in all of sports is the fact that he never lets money get in the way of a winning system, of a winning chance to get a Super Bowl. That's what I respect about Jeffrey Lurie the most, is he will put his money where his mouth is. So in this instance, it's never made sense. And now it finally makes sense. Insert Dianna Russini, the person that's been spearheading this entire campaign, that AJ Brown is likely to get traded. AJ Brown is being shopped. No, you're not. Well, I'm hearing it. AJ Brown to the Patriots. Patriots want AJ Brown. Patriots are calling AJ Brown. Eagles are getting conversations about AJ Brown, and mainly from the Patriots. The Patriots want what? We all know it. Like, no one else has been spearheading this AJ Brown to the Patriots like Dianna Russini. She has been really the only NFL insider to bring this up time and time again, that A.J. Brown is, in fact, on the market, and A.J. Brown would like to be traded. You haven't seen it from Schefter. You haven't seen it from Rappaport. No one else, right? Those are the two big guys, Schefter and Rappaport. They haven't brought it up. They've talked about when Howie Roseman will address it, but they themselves have not said anything regarding, this is what I'm hearing in terms of A.J. Brown and the New England Patriots. A.J. Brown wanting out of Philly. The only person that's been doing it is Dianna Russini. And now at least we know why. Because Dianna Russini and Mike Vrabel are clearly having an affair. clearly. Now, look, they can deny it all they want, and they have. But when you're arm in arm with somebody in a rooftop bungalow that is only accessible from that bungalow and is not a public thing, it is really just from one room, okay, fine. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. There's one thing that I have never forgotten about Dianna Russini. It's kind of like Austin Powers seeing the mole. I might be dating myself with that one, where he just keeps saying mole, 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 like you can't unsee it. And that is Scott McLaughlin. Now, if you're unaware of who Scott McLaughlin is, he's a former NFL exec for, at the time, the Washington Redskins. And his wife went on the warpath. I guess probably she's the ex-wife now, but she went on the warpath regarding Dianna Russini. And she basically said in a series of, I think, tweets about a decade ago that Dianna Russini got most of her information by sleeping around in the NFL. That is a long-standing hurdle that female journalists have had to climb, is gaining the respect of their peers and the respect of the public, because I think the assumption with a lot of female journalists, especially the attractive ones, unfortunately, is like men jump to conclusions of, oh, they slept their way to the top. But in this case, Miss McLaughlin had a little bit of inside information, because she wasn't saying that Dianna Russini got all this information from sleeping around with other people. She said, oh, no, Dianna Russini slept with my husband. And that's how she got this information. Dianna Russini has no problem sleeping around for information. And I've never been able to unsee it. Every time I see her, when WIP wants to just get on their knees, pardon the pun, and bow down and say, oh my God, you're the Eagles Insider of the Year, here you go, and give her some made-up bullshit award, all I could think of was Scott McLaughlin. And I'm not ripping her for this. You know, you got to do what you got to do to get ahead. Like, I've never been one to look down on the nose of that, but it's always stuck in my mind of that is who she is. Like, again, not ripping her for it, but that is who she is. So I'm not ripping her for having a probable affair with Mike Vrabel. I think now we've all seen the videos of her kind of ripping her husband, poor guy. I'm not ripping her for that. I'm not ripping her for being buddy-buddy with a coach. I think you see that a lot. Like PHLY from the NFL Network, and he's on record as saying this, he's a kiss ass. He's good at his job, but when a coach gets fired, he will text them and be like, hey man, if there's anything I can help you out with. And Pete will tell you, there's nothing I can help them out with. Nothing. But I'm doing it to build a relationship. And that's what you have to do to be an insider. You have to build these relationships any way you can. And Dianna Russini wants to build it in the bedroom. Fine, whatever. But let's take you back to when the Eagles traded for A.J. Brown. And let's take you back to the reaction that Mike Vrabel had when the Titans, his team at the time, traded A.J. Brown to the Eagles. Do you remember it? Because he wasn't happy. He stormed out of the war room. He was so angry that the ownership would not pay this man, which would hinder his chance at building a championship team, that he quite literally stormed out. And that's probably stuck in his mind this entire time. That if only A.J. Brown were to be paid and stay in Tennessee, then the Titans would have been a legitimate Super Bowl contender. Instead of what happened was they unraveled, he gets let go, and he ends up in New England, which is his next head coaching job, where amazingly, he's got this stud young quarterback and no real number one wide receiver now that Stephon Diggs is out. Insert Dianna Russini, insert A.J. Brown. During pillow talk, this is what I'm assuming, it's, hey, if we muster up enough, this could help me out. She wants to help the guy out, fine, whatever. And this is one of those situations where if you say it enough times, it might become true. If you say A.J. Brown wants out of Philly enough times, it might become true. All of a sudden, the Eagles go, yeah, what's going on? And AJ's like, I don't know. Do you want to be out? I wasn't. But the fact you keep questioning me, maybe I do want out. And next thing you know, he's on the trade market. The trade market. I don't know about A.J. Brown's relationship with A.J. Brown. I'm sorry. I do know about it. It's probably pretty good. I don't know about A.J. Brown's relationship with Jalen Hurts. When I had Zach Berman on the one time I asked about it, he said, look, I think that they're friendly. I don't think they're best friends as it was made out to be. But yeah, I think they're fine. And Zach will tell you that A.J. Brown is loved in that locker room. Like, in that building. Coaches, people that just work there, teammates. Like, they like A.J. Brown. This isn't a diva situation. You don't have to worry about A.J. Brown doing sit-ups in his parking lot. So that bodes the question of, like, where is this coming from? Because the Eagles had a down year last year, and A.J. Brown was frustrated. But then I look at the entire offense, and the entire offense was frustrated. You know, you had Jalen Hurts who was frustrated. You had the offensive linemen who were frustrated. Like, everybody was frustrated by what we all witnessed with the Kevin Patullo, Nick Sirianni offense. So to point the finger and go, well, A.J. Brown needs to go, that's fine. But again, who replaces him? Because then you're doing exactly what the Tennessee Titans did when they traded A.J. Brown. Was you're trading A.J. Brown with the hope of you're taking a mystery box that one day becomes A.J. Brown, and that's dumb. But insert Dianna Russini, who keeps pounding the table. Damn it. There's smoke here. So there you have it. Do I rip her for having an affair with an NFL coach to get ahead in her career? Nah, whatever. You know, again, I'm not gonna get down there in the personal life. If she wants to do what she wants to do. I have a feeling that her husband probably not surprised about this. Because again, 10 years ago there were allegations from a disgruntled wife. So yeah, it's one thing for a guy to say it, but like an executive's, I'm assuming again, ex-wife making these claims, not a good look for her. She somehow made everybody forget about that. Hard for me to imagine that in a decade between these two incidents that there hasn't been more. But again, like, you got to do what you got to do. I'm not ripping her for that. This just gives me clarity on where all this information is coming from and what's behind it. Because to me, it never made sense. Now it makes sense. Dianna Russini was trying to help out her affair partner get one of the premier NFL wide receivers. And yeah, I said it before. I'd be very, very surprised if the Eagles were to trade A.J. Brown because it doesn't make any football sense. But time will tell. You know, and hopefully this doesn't come back to bite me and there is an egg on my face, but I would be shocked. And I think now that we see the forest of the trees and we see what was behind all this, these rumors, and look, I hope she enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. As far as comments go, I'm probably only going to respond to channel members. So become a channel member. That'd be cool of you. Hit thumbs up if you like this. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought this video sucked. Subscribing is cool. You can subscribe if you want or not. Go Birds.